Today I'm on the hunt to find the greatest pilot episode in TV history. I'm sure you already knew that because that's the title of the video. Alright, that's it. That's the intro. Show the title card. You might be asking yourself, what is a pilot episode? I don't want to hear about airplanes or, God forbid, the New York Jets. Seriously, Jets, how do you make Trevor Lawrence look like primetime Tom Brady? A pilot on TV is a standalone episode that's used to sell the show and its premise to the network. I've already narrowed down the search to a handful of shows. I'm going to be watching and ranking each pilot episode to find the best one. We have an absolutely stacked lineup of shows today. Some of these I've never seen, and I'm super excited to dive in. Here they all are if you want to pause the video to read them. And if you can't read them, then I'm sorry that you were born in the southeastern United States. So how do we determine the greatest premiere episode of all time? Well, I don't really know. Hopefully it's revealed as we go through some good ones and some not so good episodes. To help make things easier, I came up with the following scientifically formulated ranking criteria: first impressions, world building, overall quality of the episode, and my desire to continue the series. I'll give each category a 1 through 5 score, add those all up, plug that into the Pythagorean theorem, and it will determine which show has the greatest pilot. These rankings are completely subjective, and as a husband and a father, I don't have time to rank every show. So when you get to the end of the video, and I haven't covered Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, please don't attack me in the comments. Since I'm covering a lot of episodes, I'm going to try and keep it to a couple minutes per segment. Let's begin. Oh yeah, I'm going to do my own title card song for each show, so I hope you enjoy. Got my nana tap out, gonna have myself damn. Alright, I know that South Park doesn't have the greatest pilot, but almost 90% of my videos have South Park in them, so making this video without South Park kinda just feels wrong. That would be like going to New York City and expecting the streets to not smell like cat piss. With a potentially worse smell, we have the South Park episode, Cartman Gets an Anal Probe. This episode has quite a bit of charm to it. With a lofty $300,000 budget, this entire episode was produced with cut paper stop-motion animation. This involves using hundreds of construction paper cutouts, photographing each frame of the show, and syncing up the dialogue. Like I discussed briefly in my last video, this wasn't the first rendition of South Park, it's actually the third. South Park has 2 brief shorts, one in 1992 called The Spirit of Christmas, and one in 1995 called Jesus vs. Santa. The pilot episode didn't release until the golden year of 1997. Who knew that 2 months before I was born, a show would air that I would make YouTube videos about in my late 20s? The story follows 4 4th grade boys: Cartman, Kyle, Stan, and Kenny. The boys have quite the vocabulary for being in 4th grade. When I was in 4th grade, I just talked about Pokemon cards and Halo 3, and I still kinda just do that. The Cartman animation is really charming. Cartman is tired and the boys suspect that aliens abducted him and probed him in the butt. The aliens are wreaking havoc on the town, abducting Kyle's brother Ike, killing cows, and probing the good citizens of South Park in the butt. Kyle's trying to leave class to go save his little brother, mainly so he doesn't get in trouble with his parents. We also have a B storyline where Officer Barbrady's trying to save some runaway cows from the aliens. We're also introduced to Stan's love interest, Wendy. It just dawned on me that this milk is labeled Parker's milk, like Trey Parker, in the butt. Chef aids in the kids' escape from school as Cartman's probe is acting up. We have the first of many You Killed Kennys in series history. Fun fact, it was actually Officer Barbrady who got him for the first time. Wendy suggests using Cartman to lure the aliens in to save Ike. I'm not sure why, but she doesn't refer to him by name, she just calls him the fat kid. Cartman's probe signals the aliens in a truly spectacular scene. And in a crazy twist, the aliens actually speak cow and have a conversation with the roaming herd of cows. Ike jumps out of the spaceship and the aliens are gone. This is not a great episode of South Park by any means. Trey Parker and Matt Stone were still finding their footing with writing and storytelling. Most of the humor is just shock value from a 4th grader having a really dirty vocabulary. Big respect to the creators though. They made it happen given their limited resources. From a non-biased standpoint, this is a very weak pilot. It gives a fragile first impression, and it really doesn't have me yearning for more episodes. The world building is where this episode seems to excel. Most of the town is fleshed out, and we're quickly introduced to the main characters. It's harder to rank a non-continuous storyline, but I fear South Park's might be the worst pilot of the day. Following my super scientific rubric, South Park gets an 8.5 out of 20, good enough for a 42%, better known as an F. At least South Park wins a participation trophy from me. Alright, no more Make-A-Wish pilots, let's get into some heavy hitters. The Walking Dead is one of my favorite shows of all time. I even watched all 8 seasons of Fear the Walking Dead 2. That show is so bad, they can't even show it at Guantanamo Bay as it's deemed too inhumane. The Walking Dead comes out of the gate swinging. Days Gone By is the most viewed series premiere in AMC history, pulling in almost 5.5 million viewers. debuting at an absolutely cinematic perfect time on Halloween night in 2010. A successful opener led the series to a lengthy 11-season runtime with multiple unnecessary spin-off shows. Somehow The Walking Dead is still going. They are literally Walking Dead at this point. That was a terrible joke. Please cut that out, editor. I remember watching in season 5, everyone at school be talking about the newest episodes on Monday mornings. You could not miss a week, or you'd be instantly spoiled by Ricky from woodshop class. If you're watching this, Ricky, you're a rat. The pilot follows an unnecessarily handsome sheriff, Rick Grimes, as he finds himself in the early stages of the zombie outbreak. This opening scene where Rick encounters the zombie girl is super iconic. A chilling intro into how far the world has fallen. Fun fact, this little girl is now 25 years old and now I feel really old. Yet another fun fact is that she actually appears in the show again in season 8. Throughout the episode, we see flashbacks of Rick with his partner and best friend Shane. Rick and Shane are called to pursue an armed and dangerous suspect. Rick is shot by an unknown third assailant as the flashback ends. Rick wakes up from his coma and quite some time has passed since his last memory. Rick is in dire need of help, but the hospital's empty. Another extremely iconic scene where Rick finds the door labeled "Don't Open Dead Inside," or if you read it normally it says "Don't Dead Open Inside." Another reading hurdle for the already struggling American Southeast.
Oh boy, get ready for the letters. Dear Family Guy bastards.
Rick's unawareness of the current situation gives the whole scene so much tension and uneasiness. The attention to detail here is absolutely insane. Everything looks so hopeless. The world seems empty as Rick is trying to pick up the pieces. Rick returns home to find his wife and son are missing. That's when Rick's hit in the face with a shovel. Okay, a shovel hit to the face would break multiple bones, but Rick has some pretty thick plot armor, so he's only knocked out. Eventually, Rick wakes up, captured by the man and the boy who attacked him. The tension in this house is so uneasy. Morgan explains the current state of the world to Rick. Looking outside to see the streets filled with walkers is super unsettling. I feel like I'm trapped inside the house along with Rick. Rick takes everyone to the police station for one last hot shower. They load up with weapons, and they head off their separate ways, with Rick going towards Atlanta in search of his family. While approaching Atlanta, Rick's broadcast reaches a camp, but they're unable to get back to him. Shane is on the other end of the radio, trying to reply and warn him that Atlanta is a death sentence. This woman at the camp is Rick's wife, Lori, and the boy is his son, Carl. It gets really awkward when Lori starts smooching on Shane. Out of gas, Rick decides to take a horse into Atlanta. Using my Iowa education, I can confirm that horses do not use gas. Follow me for more tips. This shot right here is super iconic as well. Inside of Atlanta, Rick runs into a horde of walkers, and before he knows it, he's completely surrounded. He's flung off his horse, and he manages to crawl under a tank. Seconds before he decides to take the easy way out of things, he spots the tank's bottom hatches open, and he crawls inside, completely surrounded and without a chance for survival until he hears a voice come through the radio. What an absolutely thrilling and suspenseful open episode. This episode perfectly captured what it would be like to wake up in the zombie apocalypse. I'm trying not to be biased, but this is an amazing pilot. I don't know if it's humanly possible to watch this episode for the first time and not continue the series. I'm scoring this one an 18 out of 20, good for a 90% and an A grade. Amazing episode, and you should definitely give the first season a shot. Even you, Nick. So I guess Lost doesn't have like a title card song. When doing research on what shows had the best pilot episodes, there was a wide variety of suggestions. Breaking Bad, The Wire, Twin Peaks, Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai, the list goes on and on. The one constant in those comments was Lost. I'm super excited for this one because unlike the previous episodes, I've never seen Lost before. Premiering in 2004, Lost is an outlier for only one reason. The pilot episode is a two-parter. Now I'm only going to watch part 1 of the pilot for this video's sake. You are allowed to throw tomatoes at me now. The pilot hits the ground running, which is a funny joke if you've seen the episode. With Jack waking up in some sort of bamboo rainforest, Minecraft would tell me that there's pandas nearby, but instead he finds a dog. He follows the sounds of screaming, and we realize that Jack is a survivor of a plane crash. The situation is extremely chaotic, but Jack springs into action, helping some fellow survivors. Jack is bouncing from situation to situation. Things keep getting worse and worse as everyone has the survival instincts of a dodo bird. Once given a moment of reprieve, Dr. Jack is tending to his own wounds, using a sewing kit he scavenged. The worst situation has to be the pregnant lady. What is she doing on a flight from LA to Sydney 8 months pregnant? Come on. The survivors are biding their time waiting for rescue, with large fires on the beach. We're introduced to some of the survivors in short scenes, not long enough to really learn their names, but long enough just to feel how populated the island really is. The cockpit of the plane is missing, and finding it could help aid in the rescue. Kate finally introduces herself to Jack, and suddenly the jungle comes to life. Something big is lurking in this jungle. I was not expecting that twist. The mystery of the jungle isn't revealed yet as the next day has dawned. Jack, Kate, and an Australian singer guy set off to find the cockpit. Was the dog the one making the T-Rex noises at night? Jack and co find the plane's cockpit. While looking for the transceiver, one of the pilots springs to life. I don't appreciate all the jump scares. The pilot alerts them that around 6 hours into their flight, their radios went out, and they are thousands of miles off course. Rescue crews will be looking in all the wrong places. Things do not get better in this show. The dinosaurs come back and eat the pilot. Listen, I don't know what these things are, but dinosaurs makes the most sense to me at the moment. Man, these folks landed on Jurassic Island. Unlucky GG, go next. Everyone escapes the dinosaurs, but doesn't get a good look at them as the episode ends. I have tons of unanswered questions that make me want to continue watching. This episode was non-stop action the entire time, never a dull moment. I really enjoyed how they build up the tension of this looming threat in an already dire situation. I also really enjoyed how they gave each supporting character a brief intro while still focusing on Jack and Kate. I completely understand why this episode made everyone's list of greatest pilots, an all-around great episode. But nothing stood out as amazing in my opinion. I'm scoring this one a 16.5 out of 20, giving Lost a solid B. There's a joke in here somewhere about how the pilot got lost, and this video is about the pilots, but I'm not smart or charming enough to figure it out. Woke up this morning, got. The Sopranos aired just before the turn of the millennium in 1999. Pre-production for the show began in 1997. Another reason why 1997 might be the best year of all time. You got Sopranos, South Park, Pokemon. What a time to be alive. You can even afford to buy a house for your family on a single income working from the Pizza Hut. We open with Tony Soprano at a psychiatric appointment. Tony's recently passed out and he's trying to find out what's causing it. We're introduced to Tony's family, Meadow, Anthony Jr., and Carmela. This episode is taking place through scenes that Tony is explaining during his therapy sessions. Kind of a theme between these pilots. Tony's in the mafia and he doesn't want to directly tell his psychiatrist his line of work, so he leaves out a few key details to his stories. Like while he tells her he's getting coffee with an associate, but he's actually breaking someone's leg because they owe him money. Tony's got a complicated family, as his uncle Junior is the top dog in the local mafia. Junior's gonna whack someone in one of the local businesses. If you're not up to date on your mafia lingo, whacked means to eliminate someone. Follow me for more tips. Tony's particularly fond of that business, and he can't allow this hit to go down. Tony's trying to get his mother to talk Junior out of it. Unfortunately for Tony, his mom is extremely difficult and downright frustrating. She loves to feign innocence while playing the victim constantly. Tony unexpectedly faints during Anthony Jr.'s birthday party, and it's always nice to hash out some marital differences while you're about to be put into a brain scan MRI machine. Here we see just your typical suburban mom pulling an AK-47 out of the closet to deal with a home invasion. Honestly, that's a pretty bad choice for someone who can get access to literally any other weapon. Tony's trying to get his mom into a nursing home and she's firmly against it, and Tony has another panic attack and passes out. Listen, I've seen about half of this show, and the show would be miles better if they just stuck Tony's mom in a home and never ever mentioned her ever again. To avoid the hit going down at Artie's restaurant, Tony tries to send him on a 3-week cruise, but after some thoughts, Artie turns down the cruise tickets without giving a reason why. Tony's starting to take some antidepressants and they've really been helping. I can't blame him though, his life's an absolute mess. He's a mafia man, he has a mistress that his wife knows about, his mom's a pain in the Anthony Jr., his uncle's a made man with an ego, and maybe the worst of all, he has 2 teenage kids. Artie refusing to go away on his cruise has caused the mafia to take some more extreme measures, lighting his business on fire to decommission it. You know, like the famous saying goes, sometimes you gotta burn your friend's house down to save them. Then you also have to gaslight them when you're the source of all their problems. The episode ends kind of abruptly as Tony's mom and Junior make it over to Anthony Jr.'s birthday party. A lot of Juniors in this show. This was a good opening episode. From the pilot alone, Sopranos feels like a slow burn type of show. There was no tension or particular storyline that had me gasping for more as the episode concluded. The world of New Jersey feels very alive. All in all, it's a very solid pilot, but it doesn't quite live up to the last couple we've seen. The Sopranos gets a decent 14 out of 20, good enough for a C in today's rankings. The Simpsons hold the title for the oldest pilot episode that I'm covering today, dating all the way back to 1989. I say this often, but it's absolutely insane that this show is still on air 36 years later. I owe it to the Simpsons fans to talk about this episode today, as in my greatest Christmas episodes video, I covered Mr. Plow. For those unaware, Mr. Plow is not a Christmas episode, not even a little bit. Sorry about that one, guys. Luckily for me, though, the pilot episode of The Simpsons, Simpsons Roasting on an Open Fire, is a Christmas special. I haven't seen this episode before, but I'm excited to see what started it all. The episode opens with the Simpsons in attendance at the annual school Christmas concert. Marge monologuing the Christmas update letter is a fantastic way for the series to introduce all the main characters. For Christmas, Lisa only wants a pony, and Bart wants a tattoo. Those things shouldn't be too unobtainable for the holidays, right? The family's off to the mall to shop for Christmas presents. This tattoo shop guy looks strangely like the comic book store guy. Homer's made aware that the lower skill workers won't be receiving Christmas bonuses. Marge catches Bart midway through being tattooed, and she has to spend all their Christmas money to get the tattoo removed. Luckily for Marge, though, Homer's getting a Christmas bonus. Right? Instead of owning up to the fact that he actually isn't getting a Christmas bonus, Homer promises his family the best Christmas ever. Homer doubles down on this bad decision by telling Marge he's going to do all the Christmas shopping for the family this year. Homer then triples down on his bad decision by spending even more money he doesn't have at the bar to drink his sorrows away. Homer decides his only way out of this is to be a mall Santa to earn extra money for the family. The montage of him training for his second job is really funny. Bart discovers that Homer is the mall Santa, and Homer comes clean to him about not getting his work bonus. Homer only gets $13 for his afternoon as Santa, but Barney convinces him to go to the dog races to try and make some serious cheddar. Homer puts all of his money on the dog, Santa's Little Helper, taking the name as a sign. The race begins, and Santa's Little Helper is comfortably bringing up the rear. In the parking lot after the race, Santa's Little Helper's owner, that's a mouthful, sets him free, and Homer scoops him up. Santa's Little Helper is the perfect gift for the family, and Homer ends up saving Christmas. This was actually a surprisingly good pilot. If this was in my Christmas video, I think this would have made it to the top of the list. The animation looks surprisingly good for being 36 years old. Even had some good jokes in here. We get a good intro to all the main characters, and this makes me really want to watch more of season 1 of The Simpsons now. Biggest surprise of the video by far. I'm going to grade this one at a 15 out of 20, which is good enough for another C. I didn't expect to enjoy the Simpsons pilot more than the Sopranos pilot, but here we are. Now here's a show that nearly everyone has seen, a real Mahomey type of a show. In my opinion, the 3 heaviest hitters for shows in my lifetime are The Walking Dead, Game of Thrones, and Breaking Bad. For 2 of these shows, stepping on a rusty nail brings more enjoyment than their later seasons. And then we have Breaking Bad, an absolute masterpiece through and through. If any show can come close to dethroning The Walking Dead, it's gonna be this one. We hit the ground sprinting, as an old geezer in his tighty whities wearing a gas mask is speeding through the desert in an RV. Looks like he has a couple bodies in the back, and his partner in the front is not doing well. He slams the RV into some rocks, and with police sirens blaring in the background, he films one final goodbye message to his family. The grainy camera angle here is a super cool shot. Walter steps onto the road, prepared to go out on his terms, and the intro plays, straight cinema. You'll be hard-pressed to find a better opening than this. We cut to 3 weeks earlier, as Walter is celebrating his 50th birthday. I gotta be real, I think Walter White is the only person in the world who's ever driven an Aztek. I don't even know what brand of car this is. Walt is a high school chemistry teacher, a massive waste of his talent since he's a Nobel Prize winning chemist. Maybe an even bigger waste of his talents is that he also has a second job at a car wash. We're introduced to most of the family, including his high testosterone short king brother-in-law, Hank. Hank is a DEA agent, and he offers Walt to go on a ride-along with him sometime. Walt's life kinda sucks, and it gets even worse as he pulls a Tony Soprano and he passes out at work. If you need an ambulance, you better hope you just die because that's the cheaper option. Things go from poop to shit real quick as Walter learns he has terminal lung cancer. Walter is understandably taking everything pretty hard, but somebody needs to clean this pool, this thing's disgusting. Walt takes up Hank on his offer for a ride-along. Walt is very interested in the production of the meth at this drug bust. He sees a nearly naked dude fall off the roof of the neighbor's house and make a break for it, and he recognizes this man. It's his former student, Jesse Pinkman. I haven't showed it for obvious reasons, but this is the second show where the main character has passed out, and there has also been gazungas on the screen. Walter approaches Jesse and offers him a partnership. Jesse doesn't really have a choice as Walter will turn him in if he declines. I never noticed it before, but Jesse asks Walt why he decided to all of a sudden break bad.
He said it! He said it!
It's like the name of the show. Oh my gosh. Walt and Jesse procure an RV. Why'd I do that? Walt and Jesse procure an RV to perform their inaugural cook. Wow, that was a great grammar sentence. Walt and Jesse procure an RV to perform their inaugural cook. Put that one in the Bible. Walt and Jesse say let's cook, and a sweet chemistry montage ensues. Jesse tries to offload their product to one of the local dealers in a very tense scene. The dealers force Jesse to show them how they cook the product, and one of them recognizes Walt from the DEA ride-along. Walt offers to teach them how to cook his recipe in exchange for their lives. Walt uses some chemistry wizardry to create an explosion, and he traps them inside the RV, suffocating them with the toxic fumes. Walt slaps on a gas mask, and we've made it full circle back to the intro scene. Now it makes sense why Walt was almost buck naked in the first scene. It turns out that the police sirens that he heard in the intro was just from the fire department, responding to a brush fire that Walter just escaped from. This episode would go on to win multiple awards, and deservingly so. Absolute wild ride from start to finish, perfectly setting up the characters, the stakes, and the drama for the entire series. I'm giving this episode the high rankings it deserves. An amazingly high quality episode, makes it hard to not binge the entire series, even as someone who's already seen it before. I'm scoring this episode a 19 out of 20, landing it at a nice A+. I can safely say this might be the greatest pilot episode in TV history, but with one more show to cover today, maybe there's a massive upset brewing. Ending this video with a Game of Thrones pilot ranking is the obvious choice. I wanted to subvert your expectations and throw an absolute knee-buckling curveball to end this one. Yes, I am an anime fan. I've seen some really obscure ones, like Jujutsu Kaisen and Demon Slayer. AOT was really my first love affair into anime. I always saw promos for this show, and I didn't want to watch it because it was creepy. But once I heard the Rumbling song for the first time, I finally decided to give it a shot. Might be the best opening song in history. We open as people are paralyzed in fear, as a giant hand and head looks over the mighty walls that surround the city. Man, I forgot how awesome Attack on Titan was. This opening action scene is thrilling. I feel like I'm riding into battle with my fellow soldiers. Similar to Breaking Bad, we go back in time before the opening sequence took place. We're introduced to Eren and Mikasa, two of the main characters. Eren gets into an argument with the local scouts, who are on watch protecting the city. The bells ring, and the scouts we saw earlier, who ventured on a mission outside of the walls, have returned. They are heavily wounded, and their numbers depleted. Hope for humanity outside of the walls is bleak. They are helplessly trapped inside for their own protection. Outside of those giant walls, man-eating titans roam the lands. Eren is a pretty whiny main character, yet he's still determined to one day become a scout. If it were me and I saw a group of our strongest soldiers return home battered and beaten with absolutely nothing to show for it, there is no way I'm joining them. Mikasa is looking out for Eren and uses the age-old trick of telling his mom. His parents don't want him to become a scout, as it's essentially just ending yourself in the most horrific way possible. Mikasa makes a promise to Eren's mom to always look out for him. It's funny how the bullies aren't afraid of Eren, but when Mikasa shows up, they all get scared. We finally meet the third character, Armin. Shortly after that, a bolt of lightning strikes outside of the wall, and it rattles everyone on the inside. That's when they see it. A giant hand gripping the top of the wall. A head that blocks out the sun peers over. With one giant kick, the wall is breached, and the Titans begin to flood in. Eren and Mikasa run back towards Eren's house to see his mom is crushed under their destroyed home. Eren's mom tells them to leave her, and they have no choice. The scout from earlier grabs Eren and Mikasa, and they run away. Eren can only watch in horror as a Titan devours his mom. I forgot how brutal this opening episode is. The first part of the AOT pilot is kind of a slow burn. Once the fire gets going in this show, it never really stops though. Like I said, this is another two-parter where I'm only doing one of the parts, so please don't throw any more tomatoes at me. I just got the stains out of my shirt. The world building in this opener is so great. They've really set the stage very well. It doesn't give the strongest first impression. Like I said, it's a slow burn. But with a great cliffhanger, you really want to keep watching. I'll score this one a solid 15.5 out of 20, sitting right in the C range. I promise you, AOT gets better the more you watch it, and I definitely recommend it if you can get past how creepy the Titans are. No major upsets today, as Breaking Bad is breaking good.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Jesus, that was terrible. And takes home the top spot on our greatest pilot ranking. The Walking Dead gave them a good run for their money, and South Park brings up the rear as a true Make-A-Wish addition to the list. I've seen all these shows before except for Lost. Still though, I'm inclined to watch Breaking Bad over again rather than checking out Lost for the first time. Aside from Game of Thrones, what shows did I miss? If it's warranted, I'd be glad to do a part 2 and continue this list. Leave any suggestions down below. In the meantime, subscribe because number go up is good. Like the video and send hype to boost my personal happiness. Our Discord link is below. If you're truly offended I didn't cover Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, feel free to attack me there. Shout out to our Patreons and channel members. I'll see you in the next one.